Okay. So Judy, thank you for doing this interview for the students at Waterloo. I'd like to first ask you to describe yourself, basically to say what you do now and maybe a bit about how your career led you to this type of job.
I'm the manager of the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre. I've been in the job for, I guess it's 14 years now, so I love the job. My love is to work with entrepreneurs. They're probably the most interesting people that you can meet. There's always something new, there's always lots of challenge, and we're sort of a non-profit corporation that supports the growth of innovative companies, whether existing or new. So we deal with startups, we deal with existing companies, and it's always challenging and it's always rewarding to try to help them out as they hit hurdles and grow businesses.
Wonderful, thank you. And so can you tell me about exactly what the Northwestern Ontario Innovation Centre does? What are the different jobs you perform?
Well, it depends on the client, but we do some entrepreneurial education. So we run, numerous workshops and training courses and that type of thing throughout the year. We do a lot of advisory assistance, so finding out what the hurdles are for that business and trying to help them through that. Some of that's done from our staff here at the Innovation Centre, and then sometimes we have to bring in a sector expert or somebody from the outside. We try to help them source financing. We have a couple little financing programs. We try to create advisory boards for clients to help them and give them volunteer mentors. Each client is a little bit different on what they need, but we try to be flexible enough that we can help them as they go through the stages of growth. We service all of northwestern Ontario, so that's a huge region, from Manitowoc to the Manitoba border. So if you want to drive it, it's about 10 hours from one end to the other. And smaller communities that are in that region make it a little extra challenging, but lots of fun.
Thank you. And why is the work that you do important both in Thunder Bay and beyond here? What would happen if you weren't here?
Well, entrepreneurs will make things happen usually with or without us. We tend to help them be more successful, sometimes success faster than they would have, connecting to outside markets, avoiding failure, those kind of things. We also feel we play an important role in that diversification of the economy. We've been typically in the north, resource-based economy. How do we diversify that? How do we, make sure that our technology and innovation is successul and happens here? So that's the role we see.
So what role does information technology play in the economy of northwestern Ontario now? How significant is it?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of activity in information technology. We're probably in some ways behind the game with some of our adoption of information technology, but because sort of the remoteness and a bit of the isolation in northwestern Ontario, information technology really bridges that well. So it allows both businesses to use that to get to outside markets that it wasn't very cost effective before. We had, information technology, internet, and things like that. And it also allows software companies can develop just about anywhere. It doesn't really matter where they are. It's all about talent. It's not about location anymore, which helps us a great deal. So we see huge opportunities and have seen them in information technology.
So as far as the impact of technological change and the internet in northwestern Ontario on the society as a whole, how would you see that? Do you feel there's been an impact because of that?
Oh, a huge impact, good and bad, in northwestern Ontario. I think the good is that you're not as isolated anymore. People feel connected to the rest of the world. Our students can learn from wherever they are in the region. Their distance technology, health has health technology with telemedicine has helped a great deal. So somebody in a far north community can access an expert and not leave their community. They do a lot of video technology linkages. So it's closed that geographic distance thing that I was talking about. But it also has impacted some of the small communities because people don't necessarily shop in their hometown anymore. They can shop online. So some of the retailers have felt it. We've seen it with the forestry sector. Newspapers quit printing, less newspapers produced, less paper mills running. We've lost some of that core industry because somewhat due to information technology and the change in the way people are consuming information. But on the whole, I think it's been good. The shift, people have recognized the shift now in the region, and they're embracing the technology.
Great, thank you. And what do you see as the main issues facing entrepreneurs here, and how might they be different from elsewhere?
Probably every entrepreneur will tell you what their biggest issue is: access to money when they're getting started. I think that's probably a little bit different here because, there's no venture capital in this region. We have a budding angel investment network, which has helped a great deal. But it's, I think, a little more challenging to access the capital that you need for growth, just because even our angels made their money, say, in the resource sector and construction, not necessarily in high technology, where in Waterloo you can find folks that have cashed out, made money, and they're pretty comfortable investing back into a startup in that sector. We don't have that culture, so that's a challenge. And then access to the right connections in the market. We work pretty hard with our clients to get them outside of our region to make connections and partners in the market, because the distances are a little different for us. They're not everybody is next door. One of the challenges we have is access to qualified mentors, because there are not so many of them running around in northwestern Ontario that have built a software company or a biotech company or whatever. So it's a little more challenging, but I think our entrepreneurs are pretty resilient, and they believe in where they live, want to stay here and grow a company.
Wonderful. Can you tell us about some of your success stories?
Oh, sure. On the information technology side of it, we had a company that started here. Interesting story. They were working for a U.S.-based company doing software development. The U.S. company folded and disbanded their whole development team here in Thunder Bay. So my clients were out of a job, but they both had very unusual names, last names. So the clients of this U.S. company found them, were able to locate them, and said, hey, we need our software finished. We still need your talent. They started their business called Sensia Canada Limited, and then they got into learning management software and have done very well for themselves. They've sold all over the world. The interesting thing is that they had the hardest time selling here in Ontario, in our own backyard, because of the mentality, well, if it's made in Thunder Bay, how good could it be? That kind of thinking. Instead, large companies in the U.S. don't really care where it's made as long as the software is excellent and works. So they've grown a nice sized company based on their learning management system targeted at corporate training, sort of thing. Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So my final question is there any advice you'd like to give to the students at Waterloo as they head towards their graduation, something that might help them in their career?
Well, I guess in dealing with a lot of people over the years, it's what makes the difference between success and failure is really attitude. You make your own as you probably agree, you make your own success, and life always throws curveballs at people. My entrepreneurs get a lot of them, and the ones that persevere, have a positive attitude, always do well in the end. The other big thing I would say is, when I look at people, is the ones that are willing to reach out and use other resources. Like, as a resource provider to entrepreneurs, the ones that are open-minded enough to be coached, to be mentored, to learn, to have that continuous, I don't know everything, I got to learn it. So you're going to, your students are going to graduate. They're not going to know everything, but they go in with the right attitude and they're willing to be sponges. The world opens up.
Great. That sounds like good advice to me.
Yeah. Well, take it for what it's worth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to the students at Waterloo, Judy.
Well, and I wish them the best of luck.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. To you
Okay.
too.